Example 1 says to name the angles in this figure, and there are actually several angles that we could name here. Mrs. Palermo, what angles do you see in this picture?
Okay, FER.
Okay, perfect.
And angle DER. Now, both of those I can name in a different order. I can name like angle FER, angle REF, or the other one, angle RED.
In fact, what do you notice about those two angles that you just named?
They are actually adjacent angles.
They are adjacent angles. Okay.
I see another angle.
What do you see?
I see a straight angle, angle FED.
Awesome.
Now, notice that the way I named them with the 3 points of each of them, mainly because all 3 of these share the same initial point. So I can't, or vertex, I should say. And so I can't name it by just angle E.
Awesome. And even those straight angles, we still need to name them with all 3. We can't just say it's line FD because then that's not an angle. So still naming those with the 3 points.
Good deal. All right, example 2. All right, so lots of stuff going on in here. It says use the following information to make a sketch. Now, key here, it's a sketch. So when you make a sketch, it may not be drawn to scale, it may not look super pretty. It's okay. It says then answer the questions. So this stuff in blue is basically telling us how we're going to draw the picture. And then we're going to find these measures. So starting here, it says Q is the interior of angle ROS. So how should I start drawing this picture?
So I would start with drawing angle ROS.
Okay. So I'm going to draw an angle. And here's the deal. We don't really know what that kind of angle. I mean, notice they don't even tell you the measure. So it's just a sketch. It could be obtuse. It could be acute. It could be straight. We just know angle ROS. Now it says Q is the interior of that. So where should I put that?
Somewhere inside that angle, in the interior of that.
So I'm going to put a point and name that Q. All right. It says S is the interior of angle QOP.
So now we're using Q and O as a side of an angle. So we want to go ahead and draw that ray in. And S is in the interior, so QOP, P has to be outside of that angle.
So somewhere right here.
That way S will be in its interior.
All right. Draw another ray. So again, S is the interior of angle QOP.
Then since P is in the interior of SOT, we know that the T has to be somewhere outside of that P in order for it to be,
so maybe,
for P to be in the interior.
So somewhere like here.
Sure.
Now, again, a reminder, this is a sketch. This picture may not be drawn to scale. Like when I look at this and I look at it, it looks like angle ROT is actually straight angle based on my picture. But if you read on, it says it's not. It's actually 120. So I didn't really draw it to scale. So don't base off what the picture looks like.
Now, when they say ROT is 120, how do I know which side of ROT? Because it could be the ROT that's on the side that contains interior points of Q, S, and P, but it also could be the ROT on the other side that has no interior points listed.
So yeah, you don't really know. So we're just going to kind of maybe, I'm going to start with that, saying this is angle ROT just to see and see if it works. If it works, then I can find the measures. If it doesn't, then I can start over. So let's say that's the angle. So I'm going to say this is the 120, and I'm just going to kind of go like this. This is the 120 degrees. We know that, and I'm just going to start labeling. So angle SOT is, and that's really the angle they're talking about here because they were talking about the interior points of that. So this is the angle here. So let me change color. This is 88 degrees. And then they say some measures are equal. Now to show equal angle measures in a picture, kind of like showing equal measures in segments, you can do like with tick marks. Sometimes they do like they'll go like more little loops. A lot of times do little tick marks. So that angle is the same measure, which means they're congruent to this one as well.
Well, and if the two together, the SOT was 88, and each of those are congruent, then each of those would have to be 44.
So we can just start filling in the missing angles that we know.
And if those are 44, then that other angle that was congruent should also be 44.
Okay, so going back to this one, I starred for a reason. Is this the angle that ROT that they're talking about? Is that possible?
It can't be because 44 and 44 and 44 is already more than 120.
So that's not going to work. So let me just take this and I'm going to delete. Whoops, don't want to delete that. Yeah, it's not letting me.
We'll leave the little circle.
Yeah,
okay.
you guys know what I'm talking about. So this is the angle ROT that they're talking about. Again, not drawn to scale. That's okay. All right, now notice here, one thing to notice is that I filled in some angle measures. Easily, Miss Hochgravy, help me here. I do see one that's missing here, QOS.
Yeah.
I may not need to find it, but I'm just going to go ahead and find it just because it may be useful to us.
Sure.
How would I find angle QOS?
Well, all of these angles together should equal 360 degrees. So you could think of 360 minus the 120 minus the 44 minus the 88 total.
Okay.
And that would leave you with 108.
That's 108. Now, again, doesn't look like 108, Mrs. Hochgravy.
But our
Is that
pictures
all right?
are not going to be drawn to scale.
It's not a good picture. Sorry, guys. But we did the math right. All of these angles, like you said, should add up to 360. All right, so let's go and answer the questions. Let's knock this out.
All right.
Angle ROQ. So this angle here, hey, we already have it. So
Yeah.
44. Didn't even have to do any work for that. Or we did already the work.
Yeah, and
angle,
SOP,
same thing. So 44 degrees. Angle QOS, hey, Miss Hochgravy just helped me find that. And then finally, angle QOP. Now, QOP is made up of a couple adjacent angles, the ones right next to each other. What do I do with those two measures?
So angle addition postulate, we can add those two together and get our 152.
Excellent job.
All right, so for this last example, it says we're going to draw angle CDF. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw angle CDF. And notice how when I see an angle, I know that D has to be the vertex because it's the one in the middle.
Yeah.
So when you draw your picture, always make sure that whatever's in the middle here, that's the vertex of your angle. And point E is in the interior of that angle. So I'm going to go ahead and just say that's point E. They said find the measure of angle CDE. Okay, they're using that as a side of an angle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the ray in. And EDF. These are the two things that we're going to find. They also give us some information. They tell us that angle CDE is 2x plus 4. And the angle EDF is x minus 2. And this whole angle CDF was 53. Well, Mrs. Palermo, what do you notice?
Well, what I see is that you've drawn basically two adjacent angles. Well, you end up with two adjacent angles that make up a bigger one. So I could probably use maybe angle addition postulate.
Absolutely.
So I could add those two adjacent angles together and get an equation to set it equal to the whole thing. So I'm going to add angle CED's measure, which is 2x plus 4, to angle EDF measure, which is x minus 2, and it's going to equal 53. And that's the equation you want to set up. You want to just set up kind of the basic thing.
Now we want to see that. You don't have to show us anymore the angle CDE plus the measure of angle EDF would equal the measure of angle CDF. You don't need to show us that angle addition postulate, but you do need to show us what those measures would equal. And when we combine some like terms, we get 3x. Go ahead.
Plus 2 equals 53. And then we get 3x equals 51, and x is going to be 17.
Now, is that what they asked us for? Is that our answer? Are we done? Ta-da!
Let me look back. Let me double check. It said find the measures. Nope. X is not the answer. It's going to help us find those measures. So we've got to substitute back in. So when I put that back in, angle CDE is going to be 38 degrees. And then angle EDF is going to be 15 degrees. And I know those work because if I add those up, angle addition, they add up to 53.